We are coming to you with Through a Therapist's Eyes 2021. Happy New Year, everyone. Mr. Graves, Craig, it's good to be with you, man. How are you? Happy New Year. I haven't hung out with you for a good solid month, man. Happy New Year.
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing great. Had a great month. I'm not sure what the thing was that made it so good, but it was a good month.
You physically better, feeling better. You were sick there for one, and you were busy with some activity.
I was taking a jab at you because I hadn't seen you in a month.
Well, don't do
Yeah,
that.
man, I had the coronavirus.
I'm actually trying to be nice, man.
Yeah, I had COVID-19. That's serious. I'm not kidding about that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, you knew that, but
Yeah,
you
I
didn't
did.
know if I wanted to announce that or not. Yeah, it was fairly mild for me, man. I had a fever for about 24, maybe 48 hours. The highest it got was 101. I was very fatigued for a couple days. Lost my taste and smell, and I had like a head cold. But other than that, I was, I didn't have any labored breathing, no shortness of breath, nothing like that at all. So
Got your smell back, taste back?
for the most part, yeah,
A little bit?
yeah, it's coming back. I'm in pretty good shape. Today was my first day training physically, so in almost a month. So that was, I'm gonna have to build back up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to build back up.
So do I.
Yeah, I hear you. But anyway, yeah, I understand it can be very serious for some people, and for some people they don't even have any symptoms at all. But for me, it was, I would probably say, a mild case.
On the light side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was super glad to hear that. I mean, it was funny because when I caught wind of you, I was like getting attacked, man. All around me, people were getting kind of hit. And, we just lost my stepdad's mother through complications of COVID as well as other factors. Just died.
Yeah.
And it just seems random, man. I'm glad you're well. I'm glad you're okay. And we're going to fire up here in 2021.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm okay too.
Craig Graves, Chris Gazdick. I am a mental health and substance abuse therapist. He is a coach, an unbeatable mind coach. I have a book available on the Kindle, coming out in paperback in March, Understanding Emotions and Becoming Your Best Self. Craig has a website, wininyourmind.com, where you can talk with him about his coaching services. He'd love to work with you. Being an unbeatable mind coach, we invite you to see the world through the lens of a therapist and a coach, being aware it's not to delivery of therapy services in any way. Checking out the website throughatherapist'seyes.com, where you get full show transcriptions, books that we've talked about. You can get through there. It helps the show stay free for folks. And we're sponsored by BetterHelp.com. Click the counseling link on our website, and helps us as well. And Mr. Graves, I think in 2021 we should, figure this thing out together, the human emotional experience, right?
Yeah, we've been doing that for a couple years now.
It's been fun. Yeah. We really enjoy bringing you the show. We're excited about this year. I really am. With the book coming out, some things that we're doing on the website, having been established and wanting to grow the show with you, Through a Therapist's Eyes international tribe, really. It's been really a neat and fun ride. I mean, I don't know about you, Craig, but I mean, the show today, 2020, hope created, right? People talk about how it's been just, such a tough year, and it has been. But I tend to be an optimistic and hopeful person just by nature, and I really haven't this year for whatever reason. I think my energies are a little bit low. Been kind of limping along, been quite busy. I usually get real reflective around the new year, like how this last year go? Where am I going? What kind of things do I want to accomplish this year? I don't know. I really haven't done a whole lot of that this year. I haven't had those quiet moments that I usually do, but it is a time of year to do that. How's that been going for you?
Well,
Craig?
like reflecting?
Yeah.
It's been going good. Yeah, I write down goals every year, and I went back through my plan and kind of see where I did well and where I didn't do well. And obviously, COVID-19 shut down several goals that I had. I had some physical events that I was gonna do some Spartan races and a Seal Fit 20X, and so those got canceled. Other goals that I set, it actually helped. I had some savings and financial goals, and I actually crushed those goals because I didn't have baseball, and my kids' baseball and my daughter karate, and I might get a whole month in on one tank of gas, and
right,
not eating out a whole lot. Yeah, so I saved, and I'm I'm not wealthy or rich or anything. I'm not saying that, but I was able to meet all of my savings goals handily because of the pandemic and the lockdown. So yeah, that was good things and bad, man. You know,
One
I
tank
want
of
to.
gas
I don't know
for
if
a
you've.
whole
I
month.
don't know if we've recorded or you and Neil, whatever. I know I missed a couple since you hit the Amazon bestseller list, but I do want to call that out. Chris's book got released on the Kindle. The Kindle version of the book got released, and Chris actually got to Amazon bestseller status in I think 2 categories, right?
Right.
Yeah. So congratulations for that.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I appreciate your guys' encouragement and what we're doing together. And you know, that's you can't nothing good happens alone. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
You know, and I know I give you a hard time about grammar and stuff like that here on the show, but dude, it's a good book. I've been reading about 3 or 4 chapters through. I'm impressed. It's good.
You know, and I really appreciate that. I mean, that's you said that off the air too. It's not just on the air, and that you know the reason why I value that so much is now it's like kind of, you know, the hard work begins with, you know, getting the word out and giving presentations and talking about these points and stuff. But the rewards start happening because I really do mean it. I mean, you know, if it helps one person, if one chapter helps one person, that's really kind of what it's about. And to begin getting the feedback of what people are doing with it, which I've gotten just a little bit of feedback with people, you know how it is. I haven't talked to too many people, but that's really cool when people kind of get wind of what's in there or what these thoughts are. And you know, we've gotten feedback about the show and things that we do. I mean, it's really, really cool to think that somebody out there can benefit.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm only 4 chapters through, but the book is about managing emotions, right?
Right.
Is that the whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about different topics on this show, but the book is about managing emotions, and learning to do that is huge. I mean, if you think about how your emotions can drive your mental state and your relationships and you know, your emotions and being able to control those emotions is a huge thing.
Emotional and mental health has not been on people's radar screen very well at all for very long.
Well, it should be. I mean, we're especially with 2020, we're talking about hope for this next year, but fear, I would imagine, was a huge emotion for people last year. And man, fear can be debilitating.
Very.
And being able to manage that and knowing what's real, what's not real. What is the thing of fear? Fear is, I forget. There's a thing, FEAR.
Oh yeah, an acronym. You know, fear is almost evil. I would say.
It can be, and it can be a good thing. But
yeah.
we can also overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, manage your emotions. What's the name of the book, Chris?
Through a therapist's eyes, understanding emotions and becoming your best self. So yeah, you're right. It's, you know, it's about mental health and about that. I mean, that's part of what we're so excited about and why I really had the idea of launching, you know, after having worked with, you know, mental health a little while and having some experience and stuff, because, you know, dude, I mean, it's to me a really big deal in people being aware of it. You know, I'll share, I think I shared about it in the book at one point too, you know, my kids being in school, they're 16 and 19 now. And, you know, I really was excited when my oldest kid was in elementary school because, you know, they had in regular health class, mental health factors in the little kiddos textbook and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And it perked
remember that.
Now that's 10 years ago now, you know, or so. And it was cool because, I mean, prior to that, like you know, when you and I were growing up, man, nobody thought about their mental health and no one thought about their emotional health and how to foster it. And I mean, we're aware of our frustrations. We're aware of our feelings and emotions, some more than others. But, you know, my whole thing is managing mental health. Like, and that's what the book is all about. It's what we do a lot on the show, you know, understanding, having insight and managing it. That's like, dude, that's a big deal right there. That's what we're after. That's what we're all about.
Yeah. Good.
Right.
Fantastic. So yeah, it's on Kindle.
Yep.
The
It's on Kindle.
hardback's coming out soon.
Yep. March sometime. So let's launch into this topic, Craig. You know, 2020, hope created. I did that because, you know, people have just been like, oh my God, 2020's been awful. It's been terrible. It's been a terrible year. All these things have happened and, you know, goodness, it was hope created in 2020. How could we have created? How did we create? What happened to hope throughout this whole last year?
Man, I'm interested to hear what you have to say on that.
Non-verbally, he's saying, hell no.
No, I think you're right, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Well, obviously the new year, you focus on the hope of the new year, and I think we're going to have a better year than we had last year. That's just easy, in a lot of ways. The finances, the economic, the health, obviously, it's just sports are going to be normal, hopefully sometime before 22 hits,
I wouldn't be so sure. I think a lot of people are making that statement. Yeah, 2020 is the worst year ever. I'm glad it's out of here. But there's no guarantees that 21 is going to be any different.
Well, today's not any whole lot different than yesterday, right?
No, it's not,
Tomorrow's not going to be a whole lot different than today with some of the challenges that we face. But Q1, it's going to struggle. Q2, you can anticipate reasonably we start coming out of different challenges we have. Q3, Q4, man, I think we're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope you're right. But, I think that, and I'm not saying that in a negative fashion as much as I am a realistic fashion.
You are a realist.
Because
one of the things I love about you.
People are, I think you control the things that you can control, and that's your hope. But we don't know if this vaccine is going to be rolled out to give everybody herd immunity and things will be back to normal. The goal was to have 20 million people vaccinated by the end of December.
I know, right?
And I think we're at 2.7 million. And I heard on some radio show the other day or some news channel or something that at the rate we're going now, it'll take like 50 years to reach herd immunity.
Really?
Yeah. So there's got to be some things that happen to make getting back to normal in Q3 or 4 a reality. And the path we're on right now ain't going to hit it.
Well, Craig, you just said something there that's really important. And I think that even in the face of, let's just say, the worst case scenario, we're dealing with coronavirus for the next 50 years. I had not heard that before, Craig, so I'm curious where you got that. But it doesn't matter because let's just assume we do. Your internal locus of control is what we're talking about when we're talking about managing your mental health. That's one of the things. We talked about hopefulness before. In 2020, hope created, past tense, the big point I think I would like to make is focus points. And I talk about it throughout my book and throughout my work with therapy. It's a primary function of cognitive behavioral therapy. The things that you focus on and the internal locus of control really tends to create hope within the side of any individual, even in the worst of circumstances. If your focus points are on external locus of control, you're doomed because you can't do anything about you. Craig, I can't do anything about you. You can't do anything about your neighbor. You can't do anything about your spouse or even your kids for that matter. The world is going to go along as the world's going to go along. You make your impact. But if you're focusing internally, like you just said, that takes you way further, regardless of the turmoil and trouble and struggle and strife that's around you.
That's right. That's right.
I didn't plan on going this way. I kind of wish I had. If I were creative and thoughtful enough in advance of the show, I would have listed out movies. Neil, it might be kind of cool. Do a Google search on, like survival movies, maybe, things that document real stories of people that have struggled. I just watched one. I forget the name of it, in World War II, where guys were in concentration camps and there's movies on stories of survival.
Was that Unbreakable about the guy who was?
No, but that's another one.
The Olympian.
That's another one.
Japanese camp and survived.
Mm-hmm. I didn't watch that one just this weekend, but there was another one. And the point is, there's several.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be curious to hit the mic over to you, Neil, if you get a good list, because that would be a really cool thing to focus on. The focus of control, internal.
Yeah. An excellent book on that subject is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. We should read that book and do a show on that. He was in the Nazi concentration camps. He was Jew. He was a Jewish man. Okay. He was actually a therapist, and he developed his own therapeutic process called logotherapy.
Really?
And I think it was more about moving forward because, you as a therapist, people come in your office and say, oh, I was abused, I was this, that, whatever, and you talk about the past. But I think his methodology was looking more forward. Maybe he was ahead of his time as far as coaching. But don't quote me on that. But that was his thing. You have control over your own mind. And once you give that control up, that's when things got that's when people started to die and not survive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I got to call you out, man. I can't let that go. I don't know why that myth about therapy persists so much. Therapists come in and they tell you about you being abused, and you focus on the past and do inner child work and go to the family of origin and you stay stuck and waller in the misery. That's not what we do.
No. I'm not saying that. I mean, I think that obviously if somebody comes in, they have been hurt, you develop a plan to help them get better.
Exactly. But the point that I'm trying to make, and I do, maybe you didn't mean it, but it sounds like it, and people oftentimes talk about as an avoidance of therapy or as a criticalness of therapy even. And I'm not saying you just did, but there's a belief out there that we just focus on the past, and people aren't interested in that. I can't tell you enough. Every single time I meet with somebody in therapy, and I've said this on the show before, I look at how life is like, how you want life to be like, and that's where we spend a lot of time dealing with the barriers of the past and the blockades that get set up in our mind from families and original history and whatever. But we're moving forward.
Well, that's what I try to do too as a coach, obviously. But
right, exactly.
If somebody comes in and we're working on their plan, and they say, well, I'm being held, I can't get past the fact that I saw my father murder my mother. I'm going to say, okay, well, let me give you Chris's number.
Right.
So you can get through that.
Right. Yeah. And the reality of it is, if you don't, deal with that, then you do have a hard time taking advantage of the coaching skills that you work with people on. Moving forward, people get stuck. We've done shows on that before. Probably should revisit that because we haven't talked about that in a long time. So you got to unstuck, sometimes even moving backwards to get unstuck before you go forward, is necessary. But no, I didn't mean to take us into another direction. I just didn't want to let that go. What are your focus points, Craig? What do you think of the big events and whatnot of 2020? Let's just get your raw review. What happened this year?
Obviously the George Floyd incident. I'm sorry, the pandemic was first.
Okay.
That definitely shifted things in a different direction for everybody. And then the George Floyd, George Floyd incident started, obviously, the social justice, the racial tensions, and those protests and whatnot actually were more global than just being here. There were people protesting in Europe and in other places. So I think that was definitely a huge event that happened. And there were some other events after that with Jacob Blake and whatnot. And, then we had an election. It was an election year. So that was a big deal too. And, we saw a lot of things that are, in my mind, scary as far as that goes, with the censorship of the news and censorship of social media. And, man, I'm of all the things that are going on in the world right now, that's the one that scares me the most, is the media. But those are the events that I see that really turned the dial in 2020.
Tiger King made us all laugh.
Didn't make me laugh. I didn't see it.
High rates of fostering pets. People rediscovered their fondness for reading and cooking. Board games are cool again. NASA really has some cool things going on. We had a Space Force kind of come in and is going on. We had an unmanned rocket launch by, what's the guy's name?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Those are some really, really neat things developing. My son actually graduated high school along with a lot of people that graduated.
Dude, I don't want to change the subject, but there are some wacky stuff going on with UFOs, man.
What?
Yeah, the Pentagon released some footage.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, the Pentagon released some footage of a UFO that they filmed. There is a Navy, I'm not sure his rank, but he's a pilot who was on several podcasts. And I think the Pentagon encouraged him to do this, maybe. I can't remember. But this guy's legit. And he was at the incident that was filmed. What else about UFOs? In this last bill that just passed, this big spending bill, it was 6,000 pages long, but on a couple different sources have said that as part of that bill, the Defense Department, whoever, government agencies have to release all of their knowledge on UFOs by March 31st or something like that.
Ooh, that should be fun.
There was a report that a Pentagon official was going to admit that we had spacecraft that were not of this world.
In March?
There's an Israeli.
You talking about by March?
Well, no, this was something that that was supposed to be reported in 2020. It never ended up coming out. There's an Israeli guy who's the real deal too. I think he's in his 80s, who says that there are aliens living among us, and that Trump was going to announce this thing, but they asked him not to because humans aren't ready for it yet. So, because of all the other madness that's been going on in 2020, then you said something about UFOs or
NASA. I said NASA.
Yeah,
I didn't say anything about UFOs.
But really, man, I mean, it's really intriguing.
Well, it is intriguing, and I think my buddy Adrian, whom is a friend of the show, we love talking about that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, his dad, who was on the show, is dude. He could blow your head apart with stories, and he did some investigation.
Well, on your way home
stuff.
today, call Adrian, ask him some questions about what I just.
Oh, we talk about that commonly. It's that little pastime, almost a hobby of ours, dude. I love those things. I like to laugh watching Ancient Aliens and shows like that. So what's legit, what's not, who knows? But I guess you're saying maybe we'll have some hope in 2021 or in March that it'll be released. So we'll see what happens with that. But boy, that was not a bunny trail at all. We're all still here with us. They actually had another birthday this year. We had to find out who Baby Yoda is. Not Yoda, but rather Grogu. Dude, Star Wars.
Dude, there's a lot
happening
happening there, too.
Oh, yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic times in the Star Wars world.
There's lots of YouTube channels that really dive deep into the Star Wars story.
Oh, it's a big deal.
Some of them on YouTube.
Dude, it's a big deal,
really
man.
Cool.
I have loved the crap out of it. Have you seen Baby Yoda?
Yeah, I've watched the
Dude,
Mandalorian.
Grogu, man, he is awesome.
We're talking about the Mandalorian series
Yes.
on Disney Plus. And they're going to do a Boba Fett series.
They got a lot coming
out.
out.
Do a Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi after he goes to take over and watch over Luke on Tatooine. Is that the name of the planet?
Yeah, so there's a point to this, audience. If you're tuning out, like, we're not just there's a point. My book actually came out on version. Thank you for mentioning that, Craig. It's very kind words of you. Our love of sports was reignited, except for Mr. Craig Graves. Dude, we got to get you back into sports world a little bit somewhere. I got to watch a game with you, man.
Yeah, I think what
Any
happened
game.
with sports, and I think it's across the board, except for the UFC. The UFC added tremendous followership this year.
Yeah, they have.
But I think people go to sports to escape politics, and sports was at the forefront of politics this year. And I think that encouraged a lot of people not to watch.
T-shirts and sweatpants are acceptable again to wear. These are some of the things I'm just rattling off. I set you up a little, Craig.
Yeah.
But
And let me clarify something.
Mhm.
If even before this year, I'm not really an NFL fan. I'm not an NBA fan. I'm a baseball fan. I'll sit and watch a baseball game, but I'm not tuning out of sports because of what's going on. I didn't watch them in the first place.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
Good qualifier. Good qualifier. I set you up because, if you just think about the 2020 year, if you're listen, I don't know. I should have asked you, Craig, to listen to the list that I just rattled off, and I looked up. I had to look that up, by the way. All these things that happened, Grogu with Star Wars and the book coming out, and NASA was cool things. I actually looked that up. Hopeful events of 2020, and there was a lot on the list. But I looked up, the major events of 2020, and it did. They had this. The Australian bushfires, you missed that. The royal family breaking up or doing weird things, you missed that. The deaths, Kobe Bryant, Eddie Van Halen, that sucks. Jeff Trebek, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Donald Trump, some stuff with him. You mentioned some stuff, but other stuff you didn't. Weinstein, the stock market, BLM, all the things that have been going on with race relations. Like, this is what, if you look at that list, how much of that is in your external locus of control?
All of it.
Every last one of them on that list.
Yeah, absolutely. All of them.
And if you look at the second list, like, how many of those things are actually within your locus of control? Now, I didn't plan that, but your T-shirts and sweatpants and enjoying your dress, the love of sports, reading a book, writing a book, deciding to dig into the Star Wars. We enjoyed just the aliens talk. You want to have fun conversations about aliens? We could have gone on for that, man. I love that topic. We could have hit this for 15 minutes.
Yeah, we could look some stuff up. It's crazy.
And as a matter of fact, after the show, we just might.
It's crazy what's going on. Even on New Year's, I think it was New Year's night or New Year's Eve night, there was a UFO in Hawaii.
Are you trying to take us down that road?
And they filmed it. They filmed it, Chris, going down into the ocean. And this was on the news. This is not some crazy. And there was actually lots of people who called to report it and filmed it.
Okay, Craig, we're going to talk after the show. Enough with the UFOs.
UFOs and mental health. What are we going to do when the aliens show up?
Okay, we'll do a show on that when that crap happens. Right now, we're on Hope for 2020. But I'm enjoying our conversation, even like I said, with the aliens and stuff, because there are so many real and fun things that happened in 2020, dare I say.
Yeah, you're making, that's a good point.
You know, and what you focus on, the points that you focus on will determine truly, you know, how you feel and how your hopefulness is. You know, let's remember what hopefulness is, because I think we've talked about it before, but I kind of created my definition. Internal locus of control, used to make a desired mark on the world, or self-encouraged confidence in one's ability to make a positive change or effect. Now, I wrote that down as my words, looking at what the definitions of hopefulness and were and stuff, but I think that's a really, really cool set of concepts that define hopefulness. Let me read it again. Internal locus of control, used to make a desired mark on the world, or self-encouraged confidence in one's ability to make a positive change or effect. How about that, man?
I like it.
You know?
I like it.
If you live in that, if you move around the day in that, yeah, if you're in a concentration camp, you know, or in a survival circumstance, you know, if you're living in that, you can do a lot to manage and to live in a positive way. Neil, do you got any lists by chance going back to that?
I put them in the show notes.
Oh, he got them in the show notes. Here, give us a couple. You got a chance to give us a couple?
Yeah. All right. The obvious one is 127 hours. One that was interesting to me was Rescue Dawn, rabbit-proof fence. The rabbit-proof fence is an interesting one. It sounds like a girl and her sister or her sibling had to walk 900 miles to get from one destination to the next. I don't know. I've never seen this before. Apollo 13. Let's see, Lone Survivor, Togo, Alive, Jungle. I mean, there's so many. I found about 20 of them just Googling, and they're all about what people get through to survive, to move to that next point. And that Escape from Alcatraz, The Cave, White Squall, United 93. And a lot of these are just, you really get the human emotion. You see what they go through, the struggle they experience, and then see how they come out the other side. So these are a lot of good movies that you can watch and really see what's going on.
That is absolutely awesome, and you're going to have those on the show notes. Yeah, I want a copy of it. Yeah, print me out one here, man, because I want that list. Honestly, I have not watched only but half of those, and I will be watching the rest of those because I love movies. Actually, it's just a fun thing of mine, and I'm totally getting into watching movies. Like, I've been watching a crap ton of movies over the holidays, Craig. In the last few weeks, I have been just killing the movies, and so I want that list, please. And that'll be on the show notes. I mean, that, you know, my wife and I love watching, you know, stories of true stories of stuff like that, by the way, too. And that, I mean, that is, you know, internal locus of control. When you watch those movies, audience, listen, you know, they're making a desired mark on the world, even if their world is a 9-foot by 9-foot cage in prison, you know, that's your world and you can make a mark on it. Self-encouraged confidence in your ability to make a positive change or effect. You know, Shawshank Redemption, you mentioned, I think, as one of those things on that list, Neil. And I mean, that dude made an incredible positive change in creating a library for those prisoners. You remember that movie? Mm-hmm. Classic movie.
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank,
That's
man.
One of my favorites, man.
Absolutely. You know, very cool stuff there that's really within your realm of control. And we're going to talk a little bit more about other types of ways to build and create hope. But the opposite is bad. Half the show is what I meant. We're going to talk about creating hopefulness a little bit more. But the opposite's bad. Despair, destruction, pessimism, right? Craig, you mentioned fear. Been a lot of fear. Been a lot of fear-mongering. Been a lot of angst. Been a lot of pessimism, you know, about various types of things. People are very, very jaded in all sorts of ways. When we go through a tough time, I don't know why we have to get so jaded and so negative just because things are tough. Just because things are tough. What is it? You've said it before, Craig, about the greatest generation, what made them great. You remember that? Go through that again.
Yeah, so the greatest generation, the baby boomers, So there was a study, the interview, a study, whatever, and they were asked, what made you the greatest generation? What made you guys so great? And
Not the baby boomers, but their parents, right?
yeah, so it's like, yeah, their parents. That's right. And they all said, the struggle. We had it hard. We had to go out and get after it. We had to go do our thing, and it was hard. It was hard work to get where we wanted to go. And so the next question was, what would you do different for your kids? And they said it would make it easier for them.
Right. Right. So
they wanted to take away the thing that had made them great, which was the struggle.
Yeah.
The hard times.
Yeah.
I don't think we all want that for our kids. We don't want them to go through terrible things.
We do, but there's people, just to jump in, Craig, because I'm feeling a passionate moment right now in that when we're dealing with mental health and in therapy, people talk about revel in your distress, power through the challenges that you've got going on, to be grateful for the struggle. You've heard phrases like that.
That's biblical, man.
It's real.
It is.
It's real. And it's hard to do, but you've heard me several times over the last 5-6 months, right? We're going to get through this, guys. When race relations looked at their worst, and some would say is still at its worst right now, well, when the pandemic is bearing down on you and you've just lost your mother, this year started with the loss of my sister, Craig. One day before my birthday, February 23rd. I know the date now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The unexpected death of my sister was a terrible time. When you're in it, it's really, really hard to maintain a locus of control where you can make a mark on the world, encourage confidence in your ability to make a positive change, to move, to grow when you're hurting the most, when you're going through a divorce or something's hitting you. And that's what I want to challenge everybody that listens to this little message in the middle of this show. It's a good midpoint. Get through it. Do it. You actually have the ability to get through tough times.
You do. You absolutely do. I'm not sure that when you're going through it is the time to say, I'm going to make a mark on the world. I think that when you're in the thick of things, when you're going through a tough time, I think your hope there is, I will get through this. This will make me a better person.
Craig, I might even disagree. I honestly, because sometimes when you're in the middle of something that is tough, that is a great time to make a mark.
It could be.
And what I mean is when you're grieving the death of your son who died from a drunk driver, that's what Mothers Against Drunk Driving did. Now, maybe not right in the moment, I think is your point.
Yeah, I think there's a time for mourning and there's a time for that. There's a time to change the world. You may, on the other side of that, use that experience to change the world. But when you're going through a tough time, I think the hope there is, I know I can get through this. Chris, name one tough time you've had in your life that you hadn't gotten through.
Yeah.
I mean, you get through, you know? And I think the thing we have to do is when we are on the other side, we have to reflect, figure out the lessons we've learned from whatever that experience was, and then make that mark.
How do you coach with that, honestly? And
what do you mean?
Pull some of your Unbeatable Mind coaching things from that, and then let's take a break, and we'll come back and combine our brains on how to create hopefulness. What would you coach people with that? I'm just curious.
Somebody who's going through a tough time?
Yeah.
I would tell them to, always go back to the breath, man, because to control your mind, you have to control your breath. And if you're just sitting in misery, you've got to pull yourself out of that in some form or fashion. And then I would use some tools to put their mind maybe into a positive place. And I would encourage them to use some mantras to do that. And then maybe visualize what you see your life looking like on the other side of it. Use your visualization. And then I would say, break whatever you're going through down into micro goals. Let me just get through today. Let me just get through this hour. Just let me get through the next 10 minutes. And so that's basically the big four of mental toughness that I teach. And I've got some webinars coming up if you want to go to my website, wininyourmind.com, I've got some webinars where I go deeper into that. But that's basically how I would coach somebody through a rough time.
And honestly, that is powerful. I'm glad that I didn't plan to do that either. That's why I like doing a show live. What comes to us is real genuine, usually, audience. I think right before the break, I want to make the point that whether it be a therapist that you seek out, whether it be a coach that you seek out, or a pastor that you seek out, Craig's nationwide. He can help you. I encourage you to look him up, and he will go in depth and detail with all those things and absolutely guide you, through things. But I think what I'm trying to say, big point, don't do it alone.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
When you're in a tough time.
Yep.
And 2020 has been the time to come together in a ways that we may have been successful with in your personal circles. And I'm certainly thinking in 2021 we need to do that.
Agree.
As a nation.
I agree with you.
Let's take a break and come back on the other side. Taking a break to help us understand BetterHelp.com, Craig, right?
Yep.
BetterHelp.
BetterHelp.
What is BetterHelp, man? We got a counseling tab on the website Through a Therapist's Eyes to help people find a counseling service, right?
Yeah, BetterHelp.com will line you up with a therapist, and the therapy experience happens online, right, Chris?
Yes, sir.
So I don't know if I haven't actually gone through the interface yet. I plan on doing this. I do plan on doing this and seeing how it works.
As do I.
But I believe do you put in your need and they match you up with a local therapist, or how does that work?
Not local, but somebody who's available to be able to talk with you in teletherapy and video conferencing therapy, which I am now solely and fully behind. I think it's fantastic in what they do. I'm surprised I wouldn't have said that a year ago, but pandemic, as you now know if you listen to the show, has taught me so. See how I did that rhyme?
Yeah. If you're going through something, folks, and you're too cool or too tough to see a therapist, nobody has to know that you're doing this. You can do it right out of your own home, right on your computer, and man, talking to somebody can change the situation.
And we get help financially. They're a sponsor for us. So go to Through a Therapist's Eyes website, click the counseling tab, go through the survey, and hook up with BetterHelp.com. Fantastically there for you, as Craig, you just described. Let's get back to the show. Reviewing how to create hopefulness, man. I think we did a good job with that first segment, Craig, and wanted to kind of maybe dial us into a little bit more, in depth on, how can we create hopefulness? Got 11, 12-point footage here. What you thinking?
How do you create it? I think you like we've talked about, just focusing on the things you can control, and I think you realize that you will get through whatever you're going through, and it's hard, and people go through hard times, man. Losing a child, I don't know what I'd do, or losing a family member would be rough. And I've lost several in the past year, to be honest with you.
We both have, haven't we? We really have.
Yeah, I think I shared with our audience that my 28-year-old cousin who OD'd in November of, I guess, 2019.
Yeah, I think that was 19. Still bookend there.
And then his father had leukemia, who passed away shortly thereafter. Had a cousin in a car accident who passed away. Another cousin who was 2 days older than me had a massive stroke and didn't make it. So, I mean, there's been a lot of tragedy in 2020 as well.
Gosh.
But I think that also too you have to try to remember that you do learn when times are tough. Those are growth experiences, and those are expected. A minute ago I said it was biblical. And if you look up James in the Bible, James chapter 1, verse 2 through 4, it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything." So, I mean, tough times are coming. It's really our reaction to those times that make us who we are.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it's funny, I've had intentions to get some pastors on here and stuff. I actually talked to mine long ago. I mean, there are so many parallels between not just Christianity, but religious teachings and mental health. I mean, there are very few diversions. I'm not a super strong expert on Muslim traditions. More Jewish traditions and Christian traditions is my background, but even the Buddhist faith, which I think are the four big, worldwide religions, dude, there's not a lot of divergence from sound and solid science-based, and mental health practices and knowledge that we have from the field of psychology with what's in religion. It's just there's not a lot of divergence, and I think that's not. It's definitely not lost on my brain at all.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. We choose our reactions. We talked about choosing to focus on the things that we can control, but we also have the choice to choose our reactions to situations. And that's a mindset shift, right? I mean,
It is.
And like I said, I'm not discounting anything anybody's gone through, because death and stuff like that can be really bad, and really a struggle. But
And I don't also hear you saying that yours is worse than anybody else's. People get competitive, honestly, in their own thinking. Oh man, if they, that's fine for them to say that. If they just went through what I went through, I've been dealing with long-term chronic depression my entire life. You have no idea what it's terrible to live through.
No, I'm not discounting anything.
Right?
I haven't, I can't imagine losing a child. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I haven't gone through that. Hopefully I won't have to. Hopefully I'll be out of here before they are. But if anybody's going through that or has gone through that who's listening, I'm not discounting any of that stuff. And I know there's a time for mourning and a time to, but eventually you have to get back on the horse. And maybe you do something that does change the world as a result of, Mothers Against Drunk Driving is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel confident being able to say this. I'm pretty confident that Aaron Clark would not begrudge me saying anything about him. He intends to come back on the show. We just haven't gotten it arranged. Dude, you know how much good he's done for parents that have lost children?
A tremendous amount.
A tremendous amount.
Yeah.
The dude is out there helping people, and he's still struggling in his own self. He'll tell you.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Pretty straightforward. And it's been, like 2-3 years now, that has happened. And, so yeah, people absolutely. My favorite Winston Churchill life quote, if you're going through hell, then keep going.
Yeah.
I think I have said that many times over in my own head, when I'm in a challenging life situation, which, midlife and raising teenagers, there's a few.
Yeah, well, absolutely, man. Yeah.
There's a few that'll make your head spin, and it is a perspective. I also cite the Serenity Prayer in my work with people all the time. It's just a powerful set of 3 sentences that are absolutely amazing. I think in my book, actually, I quoted the whole second chapter or second verse of the Serenity Prayer. Did you know there's 2 verses? The Serenity Prayer?
Yeah, it's like a long thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. People usually know the first part, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. That's locus of control. The courage to change the things that I can. That's internal locus of control.
Yeah, absolutely.
It creates hope.
Mm-hmm.
And the wisdom to know the difference. That's really where the rubber meets the road. We get confused about that last line. Mm-hmm. But the Serenity Prayer is a powerful focus point. It's a powerful mantra in your coaching world, right?
It definitely is. Focus on things you can control.
Accepting the things makes you serene that you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
Why I'm going to worry about the impeachment proceedings with Donald Trump? I'm aware, but really, am I gonna be driven by that? Wildfires. I think Donald Trump actually talked about wildfire wilderness management. I can control what's under my pine tree.
That's right.
I'm gonna rake that stuff up, man.
That's right.
So, simple self-esteem development strategy. Identify one thing that you like about yourself. Celebrate that one thing. And the one thing that you don't like about yourself, change it. Now, you get to celebrate 2 things that you like about yourself. And you focus on the 3rd that you don't like.
I love that, man. That's
change
awesome.
that one. Now you got 3, and on you go. Ultimately, with a long list of things that you like about yourself and one that you're trying to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great. I might add some of that to my journal. I in the evening, I do, as part of my journaling process in the evening, I do write down one thing I like about myself.
Yeah,
it's not an egotistical thing. It's,
no, not at all.
It's just something that you like about yourself. Well,
absolutely.
There's something in there you like about yourself.
Yes.
But I may add something that I don't like about myself and then figure out how to change it. That's pretty good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually started doing that in therapy with teenagers. Your body's changing, your hormones are changing, you're trying to become a young adult, trying to figure out, irresponsibly turned into responsibility. It's a tough time. And not too far into kind of thinking about that little self-esteem development strategy, Started realizing, you know what else, adults need to do that too.
Yeah.
We tend to create mantras about things we're not happy with. My weight, my money,
Yeah.
my
We-
job
we
is
have-
not dead end. You know, these things, well, hold on a minute. Those things that we will list out about ourselves and our life can debilitate your mental health.
So we have between 50 and 80,000 thoughts per day. 50 to 80,000 thoughts per day. Somewhere around 90 to 95% of those are negative. And like 90 to 95% of the negative thoughts that we have are reoccurring, that we're having daily.
Okay.
So you're right. Those we're telling ourselves all these horrible stories about ourselves and about the world. And once we realize that, we can change it, right? We can redirect those thoughts somewhere else.
And it's funny, you can't change it until you, what do you like to say in coaching, interdict your thoughts and
Yeah,
stuff?
you
know?
interdict. Yeah, when you
interdict
witness the thought. I'm thinking all these crazy thoughts.
Right.
You see those thoughts, and then you say, "Okay, stop that, you know."
Mm-hmm.
And then you redirect it. I got this. It's easy stuff right here, man.
It's hard to do, but
And
you
then
know,
maintain with a mantra.
if you're not introspective about that, to become aware. I mean, that's one of the things I like in the beginning of my therapy experience with people. Oftentimes it's about insight. To me, that's what diagnosing is about, to be honest with you. Young therapists out there, people listening, you know, you want to figure out diagnosis. I don't shy away from that. I'm not worried about the label, because if somebody has generalized anxiety disorder, they need to understand what generalized anxiety is. Same thing with bipolar, or even just an acute stress reaction, not quite PTSD, whatever it is. You need to be insightful about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you have depression and you didn't know that you have depression, I can't tell you how many times it's such a relief to know, oh my God, you mean tell me I'm not crazy? That my body's doing something that's working against me? Heck yeah, it is. My body works against me with cholesterol. Like, I believe that. My family history has an issue with that. That's why I need to get my belly off of me.
We got to talk after this podcast.
I know. Get after it, right? Get after
right.
it. Right? So insight is important, and then you interdict, go through creating focus points, mantras that make your focus on hopefulness much better. We've talked about fun files before, man.
Yep.
We talked about fun files,
Jar of awesomeness.
having a reminder when you forget.
Yeah. So what Chris is talking about there is you write down all your life's accomplishments. And I know you have something you've done in your life that's been good. You either put those in a journal or you can put them in a jar. And then when you start feeling down, you know, I'm overweight, I'm a loser, blah, blah. You know, you go back to that journal or you pull something out of that jar of awesomeness and remind yourself that, hey, I have done some cool stuff.
It's honestly something that people might not admit to their brother or their sisters, their girlfriends, their buddies. We are very, very, very oftentimes our own worst enemy. We beat ourselves down. You know, it's the whole social media thing. We've talked about that, you know, before. People are comparing themselves to people that got brand new cars and awesome homes and amazing kids and the dog to go with it, right?
A lot of those folks are miserable. They just have a persona
Absolutely.
on social media.
Absolutely.
So don't believe it.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
You know? But then we beat ourselves down because we're not that mythical creation that's been created on a set of somebody's story.
Yeah, that's right. It just looks good on the outside.
You know? So let's move on. Let's be purposeful. Okay? Put yourselves around, you know, those in life that encourage you and cut off all the things that are critical. You know, nothing can crush hopefulness more than a critical person in your life.
Yeah, you're the equivalent of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yes.
And that's like research says that. You'll make with a certain amount of money. There's science behind that statement.
Put yourself around positive people. Earlier in the show, I didn't say it out loud. I guess I reserved it for this moment. You know, you got somebody that's breaking you down. That's not okay. Whether it's a parent, whether it's an overbearing son, whether that's a boss, there's some horrible, horrible work circumstances that people are into. When somebody is chronically and consistently, we've talked about domestic violence very recently in last show. That's not okay to allow somebody to be critical and to stay in your face in your immediate circles. Be purposeful. about cutting that off, because having a highly critical person in your life is absolutely horrifying, right? Absolutely horrifying. I'm not sure what you're pointing out to me. Actually, he's pointing something out to me. And okay, so yeah, I mean that's I'm just hitting that pretty hard. Hitting that pretty hard, man. It's critical people will absolutely tear you down, and be purposeful about having positive, helpful, caring people right at your side. Do not shut them out. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm on this so hard because Craig, we just talked to, last show was the last one that you weren't able to be with us. Casey, did you get a chance to listen to that show?
I have not yet. No.
Yeah, man. If you didn't listen to that last show, listen to it, because it surprised me. I mean, to meet this girl, to get to know this girl who's joined Metroline, I'm super excited about her as a new therapist that's joined our practice, more than I ever may have been before, honestly. Dude, she described some events of a relationship earlier in her life that was absolutely doing this to her. And I guess the amazement is you wouldn't expect that to happen with her. There's nothing about her that I met that I would have anticipated that being possible. And it can happen before you know what's going on. So, definitely, maybe that's just kind of on my mind. I'll spend a little bit of time on that because, it's important. Get information, ask questions, many questions. Information is an armor for confidence, right? Know what you know.
Yeah. And when you do that, go to more than one source. Look in different places. If you're looking at news sites especially, then go to multiple places to make
you
sure
love
you
railing on the
out.
news, man.
It's terrible. It's really terrible. But go to multiple places to figure out what's really the deal. I always question everything I see on the news.
But beyond that, just a direction with your career.
Yeah.
School and what the best study habits are if you're in college.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Car that you're going to buy. Don't just trust the dealer.
Yeah. Well, I guess I was
go to a
about,
mechanic.
in terms of coronavirus and social justice and stuff
like
that.
And I'm broadening
the big thing, the big things that are going on in the big events we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Do your homework.
Yeah, and I'm broadening it.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea is ask many questions to get information. It creates hopefulness because you're armed. Craig, I can't tell you, being a child of a divorced family growing up, my family was busy kind of managing a lot of things, and I didn't really have a lot of direction, and I had to figure a lot of things out. A lot of times you got parents that are there kind of plugged in, teaching you how to change your car oil or, these types of things. I didn't have a lot of information about a lot of tangible and practical things. When I became a homeowner, I was painfully aware of that. And I can't tell you how empowering it is the word. When you get information, when you reach out and you go learn how to do something.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you.
You know how I feel about having tiled my entire kitchen, bathroom, and foyer away?
That's pretty cool.
Laid my own tile down.
That's awesome.
It felt great.
I'm glad you learned because I got some work I might have to have you do here.
Let's get it done, man. Let's get it done. What else are we going to be? We need to taxi in here, but I got a few more. Let me throw down through them. Practice. Getting better at something. If you don't feel like you're good at something that you want to be good at, man, go get it.
Yeah.
Go get it. Go get better at it.
Yeah. Those things we talked about earlier, the big four, those are things I practice daily. Practice that daily. And I've got a thing on my website, guys, wininyourmind.com. If you want to go deeper on that topic, then go to that site, go to coaching, and go to free session. And I'll offer a free 2-hour session.
Oh, for real?
If somebody wants to talk about the big four, then yeah, I'm happy to do that with somebody.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. I haven't heard that. Yet. That's pretty neat. Trying new things. Interestingly, you can know how to do things until you do. Then you develop hopefulness because you know you can, because you already did. You focus on the things that you did. Try new things. You build. See, the idea here is, again, the whole focus point, right? The internal locus of control. Focus on what you've done well. Focus on what you do. Mm-hmm. Focus on where you're going. But that you've got it already in you. An idea of that is we talked about this in the show, the dude who broke the 4-minute barrier running.
Yeah, Roger Bannister.
Yeah, dude broke a barrier that lasted centuries. When you believe you can do something, you can do it.
And the really interesting thing there is, like, within 6 months, 4 or 5 other people had done it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point, right? Because now other people believe they can do it because somebody else did it.
It was possible.
Centuries nobody did it, so I can't do it.
Yeah.
Don't believe that.
Yeah. Doctors said your heart would explode if you ran a sub 4-minute mile.
Literally.
So once he proved it wrong,
That was the medical belief, right?
yeah, it's a mindset shift. A
mindset shift is the tongue twister there, boy. Visualize it before it happens. You're all about that with, yeah.
Yeah, I know you said we got a taxi in, but visualization is a huge topic, and I could talk for several minutes about it. Maybe we'll save that for another episode.
So what are you hopeful for, Craig? 2020 is done. 2021. Can we really, part of our show is really implementing these things. Like, I am truly excited about 2021 with Metrolina. Our company is in a budding place, and just various items, with the book coming out. Like, I'm really excited about what we've got going on with Through a Therapist's Eyes in 2021 professionally, and some things personally are kind of, buzzing in my brain, right? Like, how you looking at 2021?
I'm hopeful. I think it's going to be a great year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to focus on what I can do, and it'll be a great year as a result.
Focus on it with us, guys. Through a Therapist's Eyes is with you. We're figuring this stuff out together. That's really what we're all about. I think that you're going to enjoy the next show we got, man. I'm excited about it. A lady named Casey is going to be joining us, and Casey Stevens is her name. And Craig, you're going to love the show, man. She's doing a bunch of things on energy and alternative medicine, and some really, really wicked cool things that I'm going to be learning a lot about as we talk about.
Yes, right up my alley. I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You guys, listen, 2021 is here. We're hopeful and excited about what we've got going on, man. Join us, walk with us, roll with us. We'll continue to figure this thing out together. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.